My part in this presentation is that of a proud teacher who's looking forward to introducing a pupil, someone I've known for over 50 years, and to share with you some of the additional information you can find out about Kari's life through the literature and through videos. When I think of Kari's language and literacy development through the years, I think in terms of the AAC literacy ramp that I designed way back in 2000. It was in our first classroom of the Bliss Symbol program that Kari began that journey that many of us have taken through learning Bliss symbolics. Kari moved through the alphabetical and orthographic approach to Bliss. She was introduced to print, and you're seeing an example of her reaching the very top of the literacy ramp, creative writing, which she was doing in her teens. This presentation is Kari telling you about her autobiography that's going to be published next year. She's gone the whole journey, and I've loved watching her make the progress that she did. In the film Mr. Symbol Man, you'll see Kari with Mr. Bliss in our very first year. She showed ingenuity even then, as she made a new symbol up in order to communicate with Mr. Bliss. Kari's educational story is best found in a publication by Stephen von Tetzschner and Nicola Grove, where there's the documentation made through the years of Kari's educational achievements. There's documentation to be found in 1972-73 year-end report, in a study we did in 1974 to 76, and in my doctoral thesis in 1998. For anyone that wants to know the actual scores and performance of Kari through those years, it can be found in these documents. What I've enjoyed most is observing Kari's very innovative use of strategies, and in her love of learning. There's a wonderful example of this in a story Kari wrote in her teens called "You Are a Cutie, Aren't You?" It was at a time when Kari was just beginning to really, really admire Anne Murray, and Kari wrote a fictional story about being adopted by Anne Murray. In it, Kari is just learning to use quotation marks, and they're used extensively throughout the entire story. It's great fun to read. Throughout the 80s and 90s, Kari contributed to our magazine, Communicating Together, which is in the digital archival collection of Bliss Symbolics. You can find many of her articles in it, and it gave her a means of expressing her ideas with a wider audience. The one picture you're seeing at this moment is one of the covers with Kari and her dear friend Anne Running. They had many a good time together and demonstrated the joy of friendship between two people who read each other's minds all the time. In 1986, Kari designed her own Bliss symbol book. Now, she was already using print extensively and very capably, but she wanted to have that Bliss book designed by herself in her way, just for backup, and she did a great job of it. I loved playing the piano for Take the Time at our Bliss gatherings. Here we were in 2016 with an international group. Taking the time introduces both of our presentations today. I'd like to add something to that. Taking the time to communicate and enjoy the company of AAC users is so important. And there's another dimension to this that I'd like to emphasize, and that is allow the time in the lifespan of AAC users to give them those extra years to develop. Kari was older than her age group when she mastered the various skills that she did, but she got there. And when we look back after 60 years, it was worth adapting and giving her those extra years to do it. So she didn't proceed at age level, but she got there in the end, and I'm very, very proud of her. Any of the documentation that we have on her achievement through the years can be made available. I would be happy, with Kari's permission, to share the pseudonyms in the various research undertakings that we've had through the years. Her life can be a valuable component to any long-term research that professionals in the AAC field are doing. In her autobiography and in this presentation, Kari pays tribute to the many people who have helped her through the years. She especially mentions her early teachers, whom I personally knew, and her parents, who again, I enjoyed all my times with them, and the helpers that she's had through the years. I'd like to pay tribute, especially in this presentation, to Maureen Brown, who's worked with Kari throughout the many iterations of her autobiography and in the preparation for this presentation. So special thanks to Maureen. And now I'd like to turn the presentation over to Kari.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kari Harrington. I am the soon-to-be published author of my autobiography called No Greater Love. I've had an awesome life growing up, with an abundance of love from my immediate family, relatives, friends, and teachers. Now at 60 years old, I am excited to share my life story with you, and the many things I have learned over the years. When No Greater Love becomes available in 2026, you'll be able to read a lot more about my life and what this love has taught me. I faced many challenges writing this manuscript. At one point, I started to wonder if I would ever finish it. The COVID-19 pandemic and several outbreaks at my group home also added some extra doubt. My manuscript has also gone through many titles. It started out with a long list of titles to choose from. I sent the list to my family and asked them to choose the title that sounded the best. But what I didn't know was that a book doesn't get its title from what sounds good, but what the book is all about. Close to the finish, this title became obvious because it was proof that I had no greater love than the love of my family, friends, and teachers. When I was a little girl, I struggled to communicate my thoughts. The words were there inside, but I was unable to express myself. Then came the introduction of bliss symbols when I was 6 years old. After learning to communicate with bliss symbols and having those many communication devices over the years, I then had the physical resources to write out my locked-up thoughts. 3 years later, when I was 9 years old, I wrote a poem in bliss symbols called Blast Off, a piece about me blasting off into space. It was an expression of one of my many desires, not just to speak, but also to be able to move. Before long, I was writing poetry about my disability and my feelings. Two of my poems, Take the Time and Accept Each Other, got major attention. Nancy Gibbons, a friend of Bliss, was intrigued by the words in these two poems. She thought they represented all people with a disability, and was worth sharing and inspire others. Therefore, she combined the two poems and made them into a song. Using one of the original titles, Take the Time, she sang Take the Time at a Bliss presentation, and from then on, it has been the theme song for Friends of Bliss for over 30 years. A video of Nancy singing the song for the first time is available on YouTube. When I was 13 years old, I developed a great passion for writing. I just couldn't stop thinking about something interesting to write. I kept going, writing just about anything that came to mind. I wrote a short version of my life story by hand, and drew pictures for my illustration. But I didn't stop there. I moved on to something else that might seem strange to some people. Well, it was strange to my brother, Rob. You see, I love and admire Anne Murray, my favorite singer. But to Rob, he thought it was an obsession. I started writing another fiction story about the love of two sisters, but I didn't get far with it. A few years later, I thought I would work on it again, but this time around, I was overcome with an eagerness to write about my whole family instead, and the caring love we shared. I wanted people to know about my parents, and how they didn't give up when their dream of having children of their own was crushed. Instead, they turned to adoption and later became the proud parents of 3 beautiful children. I also wanted people to know how my family had remained strong and vigilant after learning that I had a disability. They had no regrets about adopting me. They didn't give up on me. They treated me just like they did my siblings, and always believed in me that I could learn and succeed in life. All the years while I was writing those short stories, I never thought about being a published writer. The thought never crossed my mind. I was just writing as many stories and poems as possible, because I love to write. I was writing this book on my own, on a laptop computer, using an online Microsoft Word document. I was almost at the end when I lost the whole thing. I had to start all over again. But this time, I did it on my iPad. Although I was upset, I still had the drive to write it. I had an eager desire to get my story out. After writing about 10 chapters, I shared my manuscript with my day program staff, Maureen Brown, who at the time had written and published 2 fiction novels. After she read a couple of chapters, she stopped and gave me an advice that I am now so grateful for. She told me that my life story was too beautiful to be written in fiction, and that people with a disability would be greatly inspired by my real-life story. I agreed, so once again, with Maureen's help doing all the typing on a desktop computer, I started over, writing my story in nonfiction format. Maureen, who had taken a writing course, taught me so much about writing and publishing. My book was first titled Family Love, but Maureen said it wasn't a catchy title that would draw much readers' attention, so we changed it. Over time, we kept changing the titles, but they didn't stick for long. The last title it had was Born with a Disability, Raised with Ability. We didn't really like it, but we decided to leave it alone and focused on finishing the manuscript. As I penned my life story and saw the outcome of a beautiful life well lived with so much love, I knew that I had to share it. Even so, as more chapters emerged, we were certain that we had to change the title. It had to have the word love in it. One day, while we were listening to the computer reading the manuscript to us, Maureen said to me, "Kari, you had so much love growing up. There's no greater love than the love of your family." I realized that I was greatly loved, not just by my family, but by many people who have been rooting for me throughout my childhood, and even now in my adult years. Later, we wrote down about 5 titles. From the list, Maureen chose No Greater Love, but she didn't tell me which one she had chosen. She placed the paper in front of me and asked me to choose the best one. And of course, I chose No Greater Love. Maureen and I laughed and cheered at the fact that we chose the same title. This book has taken me about 15 years to write, with 2 major setbacks and some minor ones. There were days and even weeks when I didn't do any writing. Either I was sick or Maureen was busy with the day program, or on vacation, although most times when she wasn't available, I still did a lot of drafts on my iPad and emailed them to her. Eventually, my impatient brother, when he didn't see any result of the book, he started teasing me, saying there was no book, and that it didn't exist. It used to irritate me, but then I thought about it, and it didn't matter anymore what my brother said. I laugh instead, because I knew the truth. Now my book is in the process of getting published. Writing No Greater Love was emotional at times. Mom had passed away even before I thought about writing this book. But Dad was still alive. He knew that I was writing it. Unfortunately, he passed away before I was done. I was disappointed. At least I thought my biological mother would be able to read it. I was almost done with my manuscript when I heard the shocking news that she was very sick. In December 2024, I finished the chapter on my biological mother. I sent just that chapter to her husband, so he could read it to her. Sadly, it was too late. Her husband sent a message telling me that she had passed away before he received my email. So, a few of my loved ones, whom I thought would read my book, are no longer here. I thought to myself that I should hurry up and get this book published as soon as possible, before anyone else in my family decide to check out. Meanwhile, I laughed at the memories that all these people had left me to write about. I want to thank Shirley McNaughton for her help in getting my book published. Thank you, Shirley, for asking Bliss Symbols Communication Institute, Canada, if they would be willing to pay for the cost of publishing the soft and hard copies. Thank you, BCIC, for acknowledging Shirley's request to cover the cost. I am truly grateful for your help in getting my life story out into the world. From the royalties, I have decided to get a new tray for my wheelchair. I need a bigger and more comfortable one with a mount for my 2 iPads. Then the rest of the royalties, I would like to give back to BCIC to help other friends of Bliss. As an avid reader who, lately, prefers listening to an audiobook rather than reading it, I have decided to make an audio version of No Greater Love. As a person with a disability who has difficulty holding a book and turning pages, I want to give others like me the opportunity to listen to my book with ease. Therefore, an audio version will be available sometime after the hard copies are published. Even though producing an audiobook is very expensive, my siblings have assured me that they will make it happen. I would encourage you to buy my biography when it is released next year. I want to tell parents of children with a disability to never give up as they go through the many challenges that their children are facing. I also hope that, after reading my life story, people with a disability will be encouraged to go for their dreams too. There is no greater love than when a beautiful soul realizes their worth, their passion, and how much they are loved. Thank you.
Take the time. After all, it is my graduation.